Welcome to the Introduction to SEO Self-Paced course. Before we get started, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Diane Sievert, and I'm the SEO Content Analyst in the Dean's Office for the David Geffen School of Medicine. To start, I would like to go over what you can expect to learn from this course. Our goal today is to understand how to properly optimize your web content for search. And to that end, we're going to cover the following 4 topics. First, the purpose and importance of SEO. Secondly, the common SEO best practices. Third, how to implement SEO in the web platform. And fourth, the resources available to help you. If you're ready, let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, to start, we want to make sure everyone understands what exactly SEO is and why it's so important. In a nutshell, SEO is an acronym that stands for Search Engine Optimization. What does that mean, you ask? Well, it's a process that utilizes all kinds of different strategies and best practices to make a website more likely to rank in Google and the other search engines. You see, when a website is featured on the first page of Google's search results, especially for popular search terms, it's much more likely to get lots of visitors, which we call organic traffic. What we see on this slide is the search engine results page, also called a SERP, for the search term Best Medical Schools for Surgery. The first result is a featured snippet from usnews.com. Then comes the People Also Ask area. Then we see 3 more results. Another listing from usnews.com, BMOacademicconsulting.com, and Kaplan.com. We'll talk more about search engine result pages and ranking strategies in a minute, but for now, I think we should explore why SEO is so important. Did you know that nearly 70% of all online experiences start in Google or one of the other search engines? And that organic searches are responsible for over half of all website traffic? These statistics from BrightEdge are from 2022, and they are quite eye-opening. In other words, if you're not using SEO to optimize your website for organic search traffic, you're missing out. And if you're concerned that you missed your chance to rank because most of your website content is already built but not optimized, don't worry. Simply reviewing your current web pages and optimizing the existing title tag so it targets a high traffic search term can increase traffic by over 400%. This 2022 study by Safari Digital shows it's never too late to prioritize SEO. Okay then, we've defined what SEO is and why it's important. Now it's time to explore how SEO works and some common best practices you can use to ensure your web pages are properly optimized. To start, we need to talk about keywords. When a person Googles a word or series of words, like how to get into medical school, that's called a search term or search query. From an SEO perspective, however, we call that a keyword or key phrase. And choosing which keywords you want to rank for is the first step to optimizing your web content. Ideally, you want to pick a keyword that lots of people are searching for. When a keyword has a lot of search volume, we call that a high traffic keyword. Now, how do you figure out which keywords are high traffic? There are lots of tools SEO professionals use to do keyword research. But Keyword Surfer is a free Chrome extension you can download and use to discover the search volume of different keywords. For instance, according to Keyword Surfer, the keyword how to get into medical school is searched approximately 4,400 times every month in the US. And it would cost over $10 per click if I decided to invest in a pay-per-click Google AdWords campaign. Keyword Surfer will also give you a list of similar keywords and their search volume. Looking at this list, I can see the keyword medical school requirements actually has even more search volume, nearly 10,000 searches a month. so I might want to pick that one instead if it's relevant to my content. Once you decide which keyword is the right fit, it becomes your target keyword. Next, let's talk a little bit more about the search engine result pages. Okay, what we're looking at here is an example SERP result for the search term, how to succeed in medical school. There are some key areas and definitions I want to make sure you're familiar with. First is the title tag. In this case, the title tag is How to Succeed in Medical School, a Beginner's Guide. This is probably the single most important part of the SERP listing because it's the one thing people will see when they skim over Google's results. It is also the very first text the search engine spiders read when they crawl your web page. So this little bit of metadata actually carries a lot of weight. Next is the meta description. In this case, the meta description reads, while of course learning and reviewing material is important to studying, taking care of yourself and allowing yourself to rest properly are equally important. The meta description is another very important part of the SERP listing because it gives the user more detailed information on what this web page is about. A well-written and compelling meta description can dramatically improve click-through rates. Finally, we have the URL. It's truncated by Google's new Learn More feature, those 3 gray dots you see. But the URL for this web page is www.lecturio.com blog How to Succeed in Medical School, a Beginner's Guide. It's always better to have descriptive keywords in your URL rather than a meaningless string of numbers or something like that. So now that we've covered keywords and SERP listings, let's talk about the next step. Step number 2, using your target keyword. Now that you've got a target keyword, there are 8 places it should appear on your web page. We just finished talking about how important title tags, meta descriptions, and URLs are, right? Well, those are critical places to use your target keyword or a variation of it. You also want to make sure you're using your target keyword in your page title, also called the H1 heading. Ideally, you would also use your target keyword in any additional H2, H3, or H4 subheadings. It's also crucial to use your target keyword and variations of it throughout the text on the page, but especially in the introduction. When the search engine spiders crawl your web page, they're much more likely to rank it if they find the target keyword in the first couple of sentences. Lastly, you'll want to use your target keyword in the file name of any images you upload to the web page, as well as the image alt tag. What we have here is an example of a perfectly optimized web page for the target keyword organic dog food. And you'll see the target keyword and variations of it are used in all those important places we just discussed. Okay, now you know how to choose a target keyword and where to use it. But how do you implement SEO in the web platform? Fortunately, we've made it super simple to optimize your content. Let's start with the title tag, meta description, URL, and page title. Right now, we're looking at the interface you see when you choose to create a new layout paragraph page, but this pretty much applies to all the other content types. At the very top of the interface, you'll see a field called Title, and this is where you enter the name of the page or the page title. Then our nifty little web platform automatically makes whatever you enter here into both the H1 heading for the page as well as the page URL. So, if I were to enter California requirements for medical school into that section, that would then become both my page title, formatted as an H1 heading, as well as the URL. Just a quick note that you need to make sure you do not switch off the Generate Automatic URL Alias option, which by default is on every time you create a new piece of content in the web platform. And as we've discussed, you want your target keyword to be in your H1 heading or page title, as well as the URL itself. So be sure to use your target keyword in this section. Okay then, let's move on to the target keyword field. Obviously, this is where you would want to enter your target keyword, which the web platform will automatically turn into the title tag for the page and add the site name to the end of it. That means if you're adding a page to medschool.ucla.edu, the title tag will read like so in the SERPs, target keyword UCLA Med School. Just a quick note that the target keyword shouldn't be too long if you can avoid it. That's because Google only displays a certain number of characters in their search engine result pages. And if your title tag is too long, it will get cut off. Ideally, your target keyword should be about 45 to 55 characters, including spaces. Next is the meta description field. Not surprisingly, the text you enter here becomes the meta description that will display in Google's search engine results page. And just like the title tag, you don't want your meta description to be too long because Google will cut it off after a certain number of characters. We recommend keeping your meta description text short, 155 characters maximum, but not too short, 110 characters minimum. Again, remember that you want to use your target keyword or a variation of it in the meta description so both users and search engine spiders know what this page is about. Lastly, we have the social media image field. Did you know that the more a web page is shared across social media, the more likely it is to rank in Google? That's because Google factors social signals into its ranking algorithm. To encourage social media sharing and engagement, we recommend uploading a compelling social media image to this field. Please note that this image will not appear on the page itself, only in the posts when people share the link to their preferred social channels. It is therefore fine to reuse an image here that you used elsewhere on the web page. And don't forget to use the target keyword in both the image file name and the image alt tag. Okay, now that you know which fields you need to fill in to optimize your title tag, meta description, URL, and page title, let's try creating a new web page with some optimized content in it. For this exercise, I'm going to choose the article content type. And the first thing I'm going to do is enter my page title. For this exercise, I'm going to borrow the content from that organic dog food example we discussed earlier. So, for the title, I'm going to enter Organic Dog Food, our top 10 picks for Fido. And as we discussed, that will become both our H1 heading and the URL for the page because I'm leaving the Generate Automatic URL Alias option on. For now, I'm going to skip the body and scroll down the page past the featured image till I find my SEO fields. And here I'm going to do the same thing and continue building out my optimized organic dog food article by adding my target keyword, organic dog food, as well as food and treats, to the target keyword field, since that's going to become my title tag. Then I'm going to fill in the meta description field. Next, I'm going to upload an image to the social media image field. I'm going to go ahead and use this cute little guy, making sure the target keyword, organic dog food, is used both in the image file name as well as the image alt tag. So now that we've filled out that section, I can scroll back up and start adding some content to the body of my article. I'm going to start with an H2 subheading, Vet Approved Organic Dog Food Your Dog Will Love. Now we have some text. For now, I'm using placeholder text, since this is just an exercise. But I am going to make sure that my target keyword, organic dog food, appears in the introduction, as well as a semantically related keyword, like dry and canned dog food. Then I'm going to add another subheading, this time an H3 subheading. And just to break up the text a little bit, I'm going to add an image in here. I'll go ahead and use the same image I picked for the social media image field, since we know it's not going to actually appear on this web page unless I add it in somewhere else. I'm just going to pop this in here, move it to the left, and adjust the size. And that is how we build optimized web content in the web platform. Now, obviously, if this were realistical, I would keep going and fill in 10 different types of organic dog food. But we're going to stop here and save, since we now have our target keyword or a variation of it in all the important places. So, to recap, we made sure to fill in the target keyword, meta description, and social media image fields under the SEO module. Then we added an image and made sure to use the target keyword in the image file name and the image alt tag. Finally, we made sure to use our target keyword in the page title as well as throughout the body of the article, especially in the H2 and H3 subheadings. Okay, before we move on, I want to talk very briefly about the potential pitfall of cannibalizing keywords. This happens when we simply copy and paste the same target keyword or meta description across multiple web pages. Please do not do this. It confuses the search engine spiders and they won't rank the content because it signals to them that it's always about the same topic. It's fairly easy to avoid. All you have to do is make sure your target keyword and meta description are unique and relevant to each individual web page. So, this brings us to our next section. Resources. I want to talk a little bit about the additional support and tools available to you. Okay, first and foremost, there are a few pages about SEO best practices and resources in our web platform knowledge base. You'll find these pages, and possibly more in the future, under the For Everyone section. I definitely encourage you to check these out, as there are several links to helpful tools, such as a SERP preview and simulator, as well as easy to follow SEO guides and breakdowns from well-regarded industry leaders. Secondly, there will be an SEO 201 training course available soon. This will be a deeper dive into the process of building a content strategy around keyword data. Finally, if you need more help or you have a question about what keyword to target, for example, you can always complete a support form explaining your issue or book a one-on-one meeting with me. There are also weekly co-working sessions available. In the description below, you'll find links to all the resources I just covered. And that brings us to the conclusion of this training. To recap, we covered the purpose and importance of SEO, SEO best practices, including how to do keyword research and properly optimize a web page, the process of implementing these best practices in the web platform, and the resources available to support you moving forward. If you have any questions or concerns, you can email me at dsievert@mednet.ucla.edu. Thank you.